Do you know how many software tools our business needs just to operate on a daily basis? I just made the outline for this live and I counted 20 that we absolutely have to have just to run day to day efficiently with 4 employees and 2 of us. If we didn't have these 20 software tools, we wouldn't be buying any property. We might buy like 3 or 4 or 5 properties a year, not 100, that's for sure. And we definitely wouldn't have made it this far with 4 employees and the 2 of us, right? And we wouldn't be able to make it if we had to have 50 employees or 20 employees to run this little shop. So it's extremely important in modern day real estate investing, especially in out-of-state investing. If you're gonna be a virtual investor and you wanna be as efficient as possible, then you're gonna, sorry, I just saw a really good comment up here in the live feed. You're gonna need these tools to be an efficient real estate investor in today's day and age, especially if you're gonna do this out of state, especially if you're gonna go virtual and you don't wanna be walking the properties and keeping paper documentation and all that bullshit, right? And if you wanna do it in scale and in volume, mandatory. So if you ever wanna get to the point where you have a ton of property or you're acquiring property on your own or you're wholesaling, you have a real estate firm or a real estate business, this is a live that you've gotta take notes on. Write all 20 of these down or screenshot the notes that I just gave you in the story before this and don't lose them. Keep them forever. It's kind of your blueprint to build your whole business model actually. And I'll go through it in like chunks based on what category of our business, kind of our process flow, these things all fit in, right? But before we do that, we're gonna talk about giveaway, we're gonna pour some whiskey. So my usual disclaimers, by the way, what do you guys think? Did you miss my face? I was doing that whole No Shave November thing and I was just getting way too scruffy and I felt like I couldn't even like reach my own skin. I was happy to get rid of it yesterday. Actually, I walked in on December 1st and Mike's like, dude, you gotta get rid of that shit. Gone now. Disclaimer with the coupon code today. That's enough whiskey for 8 a.m., right? It's gonna be available now, but the coupon code won't be active for use until after this live. And it's not gonna be right at 9, it's gonna be when I post a story saying the coupon code is active, here's a link to the store. So just be patient with that. When you get to the store, if the coupon code slot is not present, that means either it is not yet active, which it will be if you see the story, if you're patient enough to wait, right? Or all 25 freebies have been redeemed. Now you're probably gonna get another giveaway tomorrow too, because we're gonna hit like a 5K. I don't know why I checked my watch to see how many followers I have. I can't see from there. We're gonna hit 205K sometime today or tomorrow. So you're probably gonna get back-to-back giveaways. But when all 25 are up, the coupon code slot will be gone. If you click pay now or buy now or whatever, and you haven't entered and accepted the coupon code or activated the coupon code, you're giving me 35 bucks. I'm sorry. But thank you. The coupon code is Virtual Landlord. Virtual Landlord, one word. Can you see it? There it is. Wait, where the fuck is it? There it is. All right. Virtual Landlord, one word. For good practice, I'll make the V in virtual and the L in landlord capitals, but I don't think it matters, just to make it easy for you guys to remember. So hold on to that until 9:00 whatever when we get off this Q&A session, and I'll go ahead and announce the giveaway. Guys, software really fits into 2 categories for our business. By the way, cheers. Happy Friday. I had like 2 beers last night, like 2 strong beers while I was working and kind of getting this planned for. So I don't know if I need this right now, but whatever, let's have it. Software fits into 2 categories for our business, and I can imagine for most real estate businesses, it'll fit into these 2 categories. It's either gonna be data-driven, it's gonna get you information that you need. Let me fix my AirPod real quick. It's gonna get you information you need about a property, a county, a market, a management company, whatever it is, right? Or it's going to be process driven, right? So it's going to help your business actually operate. And most of our software that we use here, most of these 20 are going to be process driven, but there is some data driven stuff that helps you with research. So think in terms of these 2. What's it going to do for me? Is it going to get me information, or is it going to help me kind of move things along? It's going to be a workflow tool. And we're going to break it into 4 categories. I'm going to be efficient in today's live because I always go over this 30-minute mark, and then you guys get this short Q&A. I want you guys to have a lot of questions for me and give me a long Q&A session today. I'll get this knocked out pretty quick. So it's gonna be broken into 4 categories here. Research tools, sales tools, which is a big kind of overarching umbrella over like marketing and some other stuff, right? Marketing, acquisitions, investor relations, etc. Due diligence tools, and back-end bullshit. I literally wrote back-end bullshit down on my book, right? So the cursing isn't just for for clout, right? Like I curse in my own like self-talk in my head, or my own narrative has lots of expletives, probably more than actually what I give you guys. And then we'll give you a little bit of a wrap up and we'll hit the Q&A. So number one, research tools. This means market research. This means property research. It can go a lot of different ways. The four things that you need. The first one, you're going to laugh, right? Especially the realtors, you're going to hate this. It's Zillow. And as bad as some of the data is, it's so easy and accessible sometimes that we end up hopping on Zillow pretty often to look at current rental listings, active listings, some sold comps. I know it doesn't have all the sold comps, but it has some, and they're right there in front of you. Some sold comps, old listing photos if we could find them, just a quick search on the property. We don't always go straight into PropStream or the county records or whatever it is. That could be a little bit more like tedious. So we end up using Zillow a lot, and it is free and it has a pretty easy interface, right? So we use it for market research often, just to get a feel for what's going on in an area. What are the sales? What are the rents? It's just the first layer of screening though, right? You got to go and verify all the data that you get there with something a little bit more high fidelity. But if you just want a quick glance in market research, the value of properties in the area, the asking prices of properties in the area, and what they rent for, it's a pretty good tool, and how much is out there, right? Which is kind of funny, but abundance and I guess availability of the product you're trying to invest in is extremely important when you're picking a market. Seeing how much is out there for sale or how many have actually like sold. How many of those yellow dots pop up on the menu in the first place when you're looking for like a multifamily, that's pretty important, right? In non-disclosure states, obviously you're not gonna see all the data, but Zillow is a good screening tool. The next one is Rentometer. And by the way, I'm not getting paid by any of these guys except for PropStream and then myself on the plugs that I'm going to give to myself. I'm plugging like 17 other people for free here, right? But I'm gonna plug myself. But I'm getting paid by PropStream for mentioning them. But that's it. Rentometer's not paying me. I actually talked to them on the phone. I don't know who I talked to. I don't think it was the owners, but they were trying to get me on some affiliate program, and they were kind of like dweebs and like didn't know how to go about it. So yeah, I'm not getting paid by them. But Rentometer is a useful tool. Now the data is not always accurate, but the data is not always accurate with any of these research tools. That's one thing you have to recognize is you're using it in the limitations of its scope, and you got to understand that these are pulling data off other sources and just kind of compiling them for you. And you've got to have the sense to say, does this seem right or not? And let me process it and interpret it appropriately, right? The software itself is not going to give you the final answer. It just gives you the raw information you need to make a decision. You still got to make the decision right. Rentometer is great for pulling rent comps because it gets all the historical rent comparables that are no longer on the market and stores them in a database, or as many as it can, right? So you're going to have a lot more data than just seeing what's currently listed out there by property managers on Zillow, RealtorApartments.com, whatever it is. It's useful for sure. It's like $100 a year. I think it's $200 a year, but they always discount it to $100 if you plug in some coupon code or something like that. I'd say pretty worthwhile for anyone who's trying to get into investing in real estate and buy a property or two or three in the first year, right? $100 is not a big spend. A more expensive spend is PropStream. It's $100 a month, and basically what PropStream does, it's got a lot of marketing tools and stuff too, but I don't honestly use them. I just use it because it takes all the county data out there from these different county assessors and like property tax sites and compiles them into one place, so I don't have to like navigate these like cumbersome county sites all the time, trying to get some information about these properties. It takes some comps and sales and stuff and compiles them too. So it basically takes like data that you have to go and scrub a million different sources for and puts it all into one place. It's a clean package. And if you are researching property many times a day, I'd say it's worth the $100 a month ticket. If you're not, it's probably not. For us, it's very easily worth the $100 a month ticket because we're researching properties dozens and dozens of times per day here. So it's actually a really, really cheap spend for what it provides to us. There is I'm gonna shamelessly plug, there is a trial link in my bio. If you do sign up long-term, like past the trial, yeah, I get paid. I get paid like a good % of your subscription dues. If you don't, I don't, but there's a trial link in my bio if you wanna try it out. And the last bit is the county recorder's site, right? And I generalized to county recorder. It could be the assessor's site. It could be the treasurer's site. It could be a property search site. And it's different for every fucking county in the country. But we use this to get some property information, like an actual physical sketch of the property's like outline, like square footage, how it lays out, the number of floors, to see if it's illegal for a unit, right? To see if the basement actually has registered active square footage. We use it to get like raw property information that the county's holding right there about assessments and taxes, just to make sure that it is what we think it is before we kind of get further into due diligence, right? So if you are really involved in a particular county, city, state, whatever it is, find those like municipal sites that have property information stored and save them to your bookmarks or an Excel spreadsheet somewhere or Google Sheet somewhere, and just make sure you're jumping on them regularly as a final layer of verification before you like make an offer on property, right? That's research tools. Number 2 is sales tools. So this goes pretty deep, and I'm going to be pretty quick on each of these. The first bit is marketing data. You're mailing to someone, right? Let's say you're direct mailing to sellers that are off market. You're going to need to get your marketing data somewhere. I get a lot of data from ListSource still. That is still my go-to, but it depends on the county. You got to understand each county's ability to process and hand over that data to the syndicators like CoreLogic that make it available to you through ListSource, right? So it's not always that clean. Look through the filters and understand what kind of data and the quality of data that you're getting. And that comes from experimentation. I could do a whole live on data, and I'm not going to ever. But when it comes to experimentation, sometimes ListSource is a viable tool to get data that you want about sellers that you can market to. Other times you might have to actually go through their county records, their assessor's site, their property search site, their treasurer's site, whatever it is, understand how it works, and then go hire a software engineer to create some Python script and scrub that shit. That's what we do a lot of the time too. Lead capture. This is when someone actually calls in to you to sell you their property. Let's say it's an off-market seller that you mailed to, right? We use a software called Vumber that allows us to get like different phone numbers for like $2 or $3 each, right? And these phone numbers are not numbers we ever call anyone back on. These are just capture numbers, and they're traceable, right? To a certain region, to a certain market, to realtors versus wholesalers versus sellers directly, to single versus multifamily, however you want to break it up, right? It gives you this traceability, you know where the calls are coming from. You can source leads, take that data, export it, and put it into the next bit, your CRM, which is the really important part, guys. You are going to capture a lot of property data at some point, especially if you're trying to buy in volume, especially if you're marketing directly to sellers and you're buying a lot of off-market stuff. You need to store all these sellers and their properties and their information somewhere, and the CRM is a go-to. If you are organized and capitalized, that means you have some money, right? And you have layers in your business. Just get Salesforce. Like, that's what we do. We use Salesforce. It is not cheap. It's $900 per user per year. It's not terribly expensive, I guess, but it's not cheap. And it's 1-year contracts only, and it's extremely, extremely robust. It's highly modular, and you can create whatever workflows you want within it. You can create whatever layouts and levels of organization you want in it as well. And you can store a lot of information there and visualize it very easily. We have about like 12,000 sellers that have called in from direct marketing in our Salesforce account across like the last 4 years. And we can see whatever we need to see and whatever kind of visualization as quickly as we want to in Salesforce. It's worth it. If you don't want to use Salesforce, we used Podio like 5 years ago. It was a free CRM that allowed us to like kind of custom build it. It wasn't as robust, but it was still good enough for us to set a next follow-up date, go through log activities, and store property information, seller information, and contact information, right? So you could just get Podio and build it out for free. I don't know if it's still like the best free CRM. It was pretty good back when we were using it. And if you need help building out your CRM, by the way, here's my shameless plug. Your CRM should reflect the process you use to qualify and gather information on properties and negotiate properties, right? So you need to have all these data fields in your kind of like object in your CRM within a lead or within an opportunity for you Salesforce users that says, you know, seller name, property address, number of units, and kind of reflects the order in which you ask questions and qualify the property too. Financials first, then tenants, then condition, then the negotiation stuff at the bottom, right? Property research, whatever it is, in that order. If you need a bit of assistance building out your CRM, you should literally just go and copy what's in my deal analysis guide in the bio, that $35 deal analysis guide. Take that in that exact order and just go build it into your Podio account. That's going to make your life a lot easier. Probably the best $35 you ever spent if you're trying to build Podio out from scratch and you don't know what to ask about these properties or what order to put this information in. But you need a CRM. Podio, if you're just getting started. If you're serious, Salesforce is the way to go. You need a dialer. You don't want to keep calling from your phone. You want to be able to call from your computer, especially if you have like a lot of follow-up calls to make too. definitely get a dialer going. You could start with something like Skype. Skype has a great dialer function for like $3 a month for unlimited like calls in North America, right? And that's per number. I think you could buy a number for like $30 a year on top of that. And then the actual subscription is $3 a month for the dialer. If you want to step it up, our team here uses something called RingCentral. We don't get paid by any of these guys. It's crazy that I'm even mentioning their names. But we use something called RingCentral here, and it integrates with Salesforce, so it logs activities when they get off the call. There's like, click to call functions. It kind of it grabs the information from Salesforce so you know who's calling you when they call you back. And our people here are making like 60 phone calls, like follow-up calls and engagement calls to their like relationship group of sellers every day. So having that tool to be able to get through that quickly, so they're not spending their whole day making those 60 calls, they can bang them out within half of the day and then spend the rest of the day researching and negotiating and doing other things, is extremely important. So we stepped it up to RingCentral about a year and a half ago, and it's been a pretty good tool. Like, it's not perfect, none of these dialers are. Google Voice is kind of garbage, right? I'd say you could start with Skype if you want to start with something simple, but have a dialer in place so you can call from your computer. And you could sync it up with your phone too, right? But calling from your computer is key. Yes, I certainly was in inside sales. You need a digital signature software, whatever it is. DocuSign, we use one called DigiSign through a company that I used to work for called SkySlope. I actually, the day that I quit, I like made myself a little account real quick. I was like, I'm gonna need this. I didn't want to pay an extra like $20 a month for DocuSign or $30 a month, right? Because the business was just getting started. Every buck that could be saved back then, right? So I went through the admin account, I was a sales rep, and then made myself a little signature account, and I'm just still bumming off of it. Kind of funny. But there's a million digital signatures out there. You need it. If you want to send someone an offer efficiently, you don't want to send them a paper offer in the mail or try to sign it and then scan over a photo and tell them to print it, sign it, and then scan over another photo back to you. That's fucking draconian. The next bit is where it gets a little interesting. So email, text, and voicemail software. You need to be able to mass outreach, right? Email campaigns could be through something like MailChimp. If you're sending to a lot of people, if you're sending to a tighter group of people, maybe to your investors, you're marketing to them, or you're following up with like a network of realtors that bring you deals in bulk. You may want to go smaller than MailChimp and use something called like Yesware or ToutApp. The difference between the two is MailChimp has all these great features, right? And it's really easy to use as well, but it uses something, these email marketing tools like Constant Contact and MailChimp, and I don't know what some of the other ones are, like SendGrid, they use something called a shared IP. Basically, they have an IP address that you and a bunch of other users are attached to, right? It's something that protects them from basically, I guess the whole point of the shared IP, sorry, it doesn't protect them, it protects you. The shared IP is to prevent you from getting your IP banned for doing a bunch of spam marketing, right? And they can't have an IP address for every single person. But the shared IP has an issue, and that is because there's so many people on it, they don't want that IP to get blacklisted, right? That's where my mental block was going. They don't want that IP address to get blacklisted on like MailChimp, right? That you and thousands of other people are sharing and using to send out these emails. So they're extremely stringent about you not sending spammy contact or importing spammy contact information to your list to be able to blast out. The problem with the shared IP is it's known by all these email clients that you are sending promotional emails, and they'll stick you in this promotions category. The promotions category is where email marketing goes to die because it's somewhere in between. No one even knows it exists. Like, people all the time reach out to us and they go, oh, we never got your email. We signed up to be on your investor list and no one emailed me. And I'll go, is it in spam? They're like, no, I checked spam. And I'm like, is it in promotions? And they're like, no, I checked spam. I already told you. I'm like, no. Is it in promotions? And they'll go and like have to click this drop down menu to expand this like all mailbox, and they'll see this promotions item and they'll go, oh yeah, it was in promotions. What do you know? I'm like, I fucking know. We send the emails automatically. It's not like someone's manually clicking and sending you an email and they forgot to hit you. The system drops it to you, right? So the shared IP in MailChimp is fucking garbage. If you want conversion, like our read rate on MailChimp is like 50-60%. Our read rate through Yesware or Tout, which like actually attaches itself to your Gmail inbox, is like 90-95%, right? When we're hitting like a highly engaged audience. So email marketing, text marketing, and ringless voicemail are great too for people that have given you express written consent to send them text message updates or ringless voicemail updates. You need that, right? Don't get sued over some stupid shit. But we use stuff like Sly Broadcast, or I think we've used like Simple Texting before to send text to groups of 100, 200, 500 people at once that have opted in and want to receive these updates, right? Usually buyers, investors. Sellers don't really want to receive those, guys. Be careful with that. But ringless voicemail, sly broadcast, basically the phone never rings. They just get a voicemail and they see you later on, and it doesn't feel like they're as interrupted because they're not getting cold called, right? But they get to hear your whole message. That's the benefit over a text. Text message, obviously, open it up and boom, there it is, right? So text messages are highly read. They're also highly annoying. So be careful with that. Canva is useful if you want to create any visuals. I use it to create the cover pages of these lives, and they're not great, but it gets the job done. But we use them to create our summary reports to investors that have like kind of a tree and branch model where like there's a front page and it's kind of pretty and it tells you a bit about the property, and there's all these little links on the side that allow you to click the inspection report, view the 3D inspection, see the financials, all that other stuff, right? It's all through Canva. Canva's free and it's really easy to use, and you can make great visuals with it. And the last bit is social media on sales tools. However you need to use it, right? I don't use it to get sellers. We use it to get investors here. You're looking at it right now. We get tons of investors every day through social media. If you are considering yourself more than just a real estate investor, but you are a brand to some degree, or a brand could benefit your acquisitions, you need to get on it now, guys. Like in advance, don't wait like me. I waited so long to start doing this. I was like hitting bigger pockets, posting on the forums, trying to get attention to draw buyers by posting educational content. And my business changed so much when I got on social that the number of properties we sold, just because the amount of demand that we got, skyrocketed, right? Now, I'm not gonna make you guys pay for the views right now, don't worry. You pay for plenty of stuff. I make enough money on social media and in my business. I'm doing these lives because it does benefit me, right? Like it benefits you, but it really does benefit me to do these lives for free. I want you to understand that. So I'm not gonna like one day wake up and go, I don't wanna do these anymore. I need you guys to pay for them. And it doesn't benefit me through the badge purchases as much, but thank you for doing that, right? I don't mean it, I wasn't trying to push you to buy a badge. No fans here. I mean, it benefits me because it helps my investors build a relationship with me without me having to call my investors every week and check on them, right? So it's kind of a great way to scale personal relationship. It's kind of metaversy as that sounds, right? Personal relationship at scale. I think the term is parasocial relationship, where people form these relationships with someone over video. And it's kind of a thing these days, right? Especially with last year. So number 3 is the due diligence tools. That was all the sales and marketing tools. I gave them all to you. I hope you wrote those down. That's the most deep section. Number 3 is the due diligence, and you need something for financials. When you're researching the property in the first place before you make an offer, you gotta be able to crunch the numbers. Look, if you're on this live or if you're watching this video afterwards, there's like a 90% chance you already have my deal calculator. It's probably the easiest number crunching tool you're gonna find out there, and I know that because I didn't make it to sell it. I made it because I looked at everyone else's number crunching tools. Due diligence, that's the word. I looked at everyone else's number crunching tools. Like I went on BiggerPockets, I went on like Google and searched some, and like, yeah, they crunched the numbers, but they were just slow. And like, I wanted to be able to do it on the phone, like in real time, right? So I created this rental property calculator, and it's kind of pretty and you guys like it. And yeah, just make one or buy this one if you haven't bought it yet, because you need to be able to just put numbers in, get your results out, make an offer fast. The next due diligence tool that you're really going to need is a 3D inspection, or at least an inspector that gives you a lot of photos, right? I mean, I know that's not software. They're just going to send you stuff with a Google Drive link, but you need a 3D inspection bad. If you're going to actually want to step this thing up, especially if you're not that confident and you're newer to this. Look, most inspectors don't offer it, right? So it's not mandatory. But if you find a market where you have inspectors available to you that have Matterport or DocuSketch, right? Those are the softwares they use to like create these like Fourier transforms, right? And like kind of like parse all these different images together to create these 3D walkthroughs. It's really useful. It allows you to like get a feel for the property you're buying, especially when you're not that confident and you're not just like cool, that's enough pictures. I see the numbers. I know what this thing is worth. I'm just going to buy it. Especially if you're buying a deal like, closer to market value, right? You don't have as much room for error. So that 3D inspection is beautiful. DocuSketch or Matterport are the 2 different softwares that you want to ask inspection companies if they have access to, or just say, do you have something that generates like a 3D view? 3D photos of each room are fine too, right? But like a 3D walkthrough is even better. You're gonna pay extra for it, but guys, like these aren't supposed to be free. These are supposed to make you better. They're not supposed to help you save a few dollars. supposed to help you make a few dollars. That's all for due diligence. Then there's back end bullshit, right? And these, I'll keep most of these quick. If you need it, QuickBooks for accounting. I just transitioned on like right now, and I'm still in the process of cleaning up. Like we got this far without it. We've been messy. Our taxes were messy at the end of each year, or at least our tax prep was messy at the end of each year. We had to pay our accountant a little bit more, so we survived without it. But if you're really like into the financial side of things, or you're growing, get QuickBooks. It's easy enough. Property management too. I might as well throw that in the mix real quick, but it's not a big one. Property managers will have their own software. Buildium, Appfolio. Some people use like Propertyware, which is kind of dated, but it works. You just need to make sure they have a portal where they can upload income, expenses, things like photos and documents, and you can go and view those in real time on the owner's side as well. Make payments to the management company for improvements, and they can make payments to you through this software directly. That's what you need to see for property management software. Buildium, Appfolio, I guess Propertyware is out there too. And you're not going to use it much. You're just going to log into it. Your property managers are going to use it primarily. Buildium is the best one for sure, but it's also the most complicated. Appfolio is very, very common. So property management software, accounting, payroll. If you have employees, we just use ADP, but you can use some cheap shit like, like Gusto, or QuickBooks is payroll software. Don't worry about that unless you have employees, obviously. Online banking is bigger than you think at some point, because like yesterday, Erica walked up to me, our transactions manager, and she said, "Hey, you need to send this wire to close. We're closing on this property right now." I'm like, "Oh shit, we're closing on this property right now? All right, let me send this wire. Hold on. Let me get my phone and all right, let me get my keychain. I got my phone here, and I log into my Wells Fargo app, and then I go ahead and click the title company that I've sent this wire to a million times before. I type in the number that she has in the sticky note for me, and then it has me put in this like number on this RSA key and some other like authentication information, and then I go send wire, and it's gone, and the property's bought. And it was literally faster than I could buy my dog a fucking squeaky duck on Amazon. That's how easy it is to buy a property with the right online banking tools, right? And you might have to talk to your banker about upgrading your access, or even changing the portal you use. If you're buying a lot or you're buying very frequently, get upgraded to the commercial portal with your bank. It'll give you a lot more power. The wire limits like go away. With the consumer portal, the wire limits were like 100,000 per day and 300,000 total per month, and that just wasn't enough for online, because you still have to go to the branch quite a bit if you want to buy a property. But for the commercial portal, there's no limit. You can send $5 million out, from your phone. And you'll probably get a phone call to verify it if you go to the 5 million amount, right? But the right online banking tools make the purchase process so easy, so easy. It's using a crappy, like sluggish, like out-of-date bank really gets on my nerves when you're actually using them often. And then the last one is G Suite. It's straightforward, guys. You just need an email account, a Google Drive account where you could store some documents. You want to be able to like give your lender everything that you have updated all at once, right? You don't want to have to go to your computer and keep updating it. You want to be able to access it from any location. Just get a G Suite account. It's $5 a month. Don't just make a Gmail going like johnsinvestments@gmail.com. You're going to look like a fucking broke ass anyways if you do that. Pay $5 a month and get yourself a domain on Google. You don't even have to make a website for it. It'll be, Elliot@investorace.com, right? Looks a lot better when the email comes in. And then you can just get your documents and spreadsheets and all that stuff involved and organize yourself in there. And you can upload like, your spreadsheet. Let's say you like jump on my analyzer, right? Deal calculator, and you plug in the numbers on a property, you title it 123 Main Street on the top. Great. You have it built off a template. Like you can have a template in G Suite saying, deal calculator template blank. And then you can right click, make a copy. Name the copy 123 Main Street. Fill it out. Have it in a separate folder that it's automatically saved to. Link that one to a slot in like Podio or Salesforce going financial analysis for the property that you've kind of built out based on our due diligence guide, right? And then now every time you go into Salesforce, you have that link right there to that spreadsheet. You never have to crunch those numbers again. They're stored somewhere safely. You can go back to them at any point in time. So yeah, get organized there. It's $5 a month for a G Suite account. Just get one. It's the Google Professional Suite. It's called G Suite, SUITE. And that's it, guys. And the wrap up here is pretty simple. One layer at a time. Implement these softwares as you need them. And we need these literally to do every single transaction requires all 20 of these pieces of software for us. So they are extremely important. But if you're getting started on your first or second or third deal, just add these as you go. And as you add them, think about the future, right? Get them structured, in place, easy to access, and start getting them like talking to each other, like kind of fit together in this nice process flow. And you're gonna be much happier when you do deal number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, because you already have a little bit of infrastructure. But don't overthink it and get all 20 of these in place before you get started. If you just need to get a deal, then go focus on like, you know, the marketing and have a spreadsheet and just write down property information until it becomes a problem, and then go build something out in Podio or even a Google sheet to store the property data over time, and just kind of add and add and add and add. Don't be one of those overthinkers that like has to create a bunch of process before you're actually doing anything. But if you want to grow, efficiency is extremely important, and this is completely mandatory to be efficient. That's all, y'all. I'm gonna take a breath and a drink and take some questions from you guys. Hopefully this was a useful one for you. It was kind of a nerdy session, and I don't think it's that important. I really don't care. Like, these are obviously extremely important, but I don't think teaching this is something that I really want to focus on. But you sent me so many questions all the time going, what sites do you use to find deals? How do you do your property research? How do you organize yourself? Do you use a CRM? And I guess, you know what, like if you're sitting there looking at like, what's my next step, and you have to figure these things out, yeah, it is kind of a brick wall. So I figured, let's talk about this one time, post it on YouTube, and I'm never gonna discuss it again because this just is not sexy stuff, right? Today's drink is the same bottle. I have not changed the bottle. This shows you how slowly I'm drinking it. I've been chugging on these hipsters tears for months, right? Like maybe like 2 or 3 months now. Probably 3 months, because I mean, like, look, there's like 15 drinks in a bottle, right? 17 drinks in a bottle. So maybe I'll take it home, swap it out, and bring something else in to make it interesting. Because maybe I could use a different office drink. This is good though. Put it away. All right, talk to me, folks. How am I skip tracing my lost source lists? I don't know what you mean by lost source lists, but we don't do phone-based marketing to sellers. We just don't. So we don't skip trace. Why don't we do phone-based marketing to sellers? Because we make a lot of money and we don't want to get hit with a class action lawsuit. That's it. It is a complete violation if someone's on the do not call list. The do not call list comprises about 95% of skip trace leads. We've looked it up, we've tried it, right? Yeah, so I don't know. If you're new and you don't have anything to lose and you're not worried about getting sued, then fuck it. Yeah, go skip trace some stuff, use whatever's out there. Like literally just hop on BiggerPockets and go, what's the best skip tracing tool? Batch skip tracing or whatever it is. They're all kind of the same. I think they all get their data from the same sources, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm not really interested in skip tracing and blasting people, because all it takes is one ambulance chaser, and every single incident, we're talking like, if you send out 20,000 texts a month over 12 months, that's 240,000 incidents. You could be fined up to $1,500 per incident per the law. Now, obviously what these ambulance chasers do is they come after you with a really high demand to settle out of court first. They're gonna go, give me $500,000, right? And then you're gonna be like, what the fuck? And then you're gonna hire your attorney, and then they're gonna get that number down, and maybe you're gonna settle for like $20,000 at the end, right? First offer is always the highest, but you're gonna pay your attorney 50 grand or 100 grand or whatever it is, depending on how big you are. And you're gonna deal with the process of it. So yeah, that's up to you guys. I'm not gonna encourage you to break the law. I sold a property to your team in Indiana and it went very well. Thank you. I'm really happy to hear that. And I'm wondering which property it was, to be honest with you. You should DM me and let me know. What's the wire transfer tool called, and is it only available with Wells Fargo? No. So every bank is going to have a commercial portal, like every bigger bank, right? Sean trying to plug some leads in here. Every bigger bank is going to have a commercial portal. I just happen to bank with Wells Fargo. I mean, like, I'm not going to put my business account, my operating business account, in a small bank, right? I'm going to use one of the big four. And I already had an account with Wells a long time ago. So I just made a business account with Wells. It doesn't fucking matter. None of them pay you great interest anyways. They're not stealing my money out of my account. It's literally impossible. I've watched the shit out of it like a hawk. And it's all linked up to like my accounting and it has to reconcile every month, right? So how could they? Anyways, they send us these cool RSA tokens when you want to send higher wire amounts. So that was the first time I got one. I got this first one here, and I know because it doesn't say CEO on it. I got this first one here maybe a year ago. because I was sending a lot of high dollar wires, and I said, I need to be able to send some of these things from my office. And they're like, you know what, we can get you up to 100,000 per day. I'm like, that's not great, but go ahead and send it. So this token allows me to get into that portal. There's a whole different portal for this CEO token. That's why I wrote CEO. It stands for Commercial Electronic Office. It's not me trying to flex on myself every day. It's actually called their Commercial Electronic Office portal. And this portal allows you basically like a whole financial suite for your business, right? You could do a lot of stuff through it. And this token, along with a lot of other serial numbers and codes that you're given and limited times a day and all that, allow you to send really big wires whenever you want, as many times as you want, within minutes, from your phone, from your computer, whatever it is. And that's kind of cool. It makes life a little bit easier when you're not having to make an appointment to run to the bank and sit down, because now these banks are all like appointment only, right? So you have to try to squeeze in. If you're known, they'll squeeze you in without an appointment, but it's 30 minutes out of your day, 45 minutes out of your day every time. You need a code for the spreadsheet. It's coming up after this. I mentioned at the beginning of this live, it's Virtual Landlord, capital V, capital L, but it's not active yet. So you still have to like go up against all the wolves right after this live is over, as soon as I make the announcement that it's available. And there are only 25. They go in about like 2 minutes, guys. And what ends up happening a lot of the time, I'll admit it to you, I do these giveaways and I have great sales after them every time, because a lot of people go, well, fuck it, it's 35 bucks. I'll just buy it. Whatever. How do you research a new market? I look for a couple things. I look for rent growth first, especially in remote small markets. I look for the number of property managers and the abundance of product. You go to Terre Haute, not a big market. I want to make sure I have more than one good, viable, interviewed, acceptable property manager, right? How much product is available? Is there enough stuff for me to buy consistently out there, right? Or is it okay with me that I can only buy probably a few out there because there's not an infinite amount of deals in Terre Haute, Indiana? And then I want to make sure I understand, so I said rent growth first, right? Landlord-tenant laws are important. I want to understand how quickly tenants move in, are they performing, and are they sticking around for an extended period of time in these small multifamily buildings, because yearly turnover kills your deal. That's the most important stuff for me about a market. I don't look so closely at population growth. Rent growth is a better indicator for me. And to be honest, if I could buy a property at a discount from market value that cash flows, then that's kind of all I need to hear. Cheers to you guys at Gary, Indiana, checking in from Gary. I love it. What do you think of properties in North Carolina? I think the market still has some product that yields. So if it doesn't yield, it could still grow, but that means it's not necessarily safe, right? Because the property doesn't self-sustain. It doesn't cover its own debt effectively. So that's my problem with North Carolina. A lot of it's gotten expensive, and you can claim growth, and growth is great, but the banks don't really trust growth to pay the mortgage, right? They're gonna rely on you and the property to pay the mortgage. And you gotta ask yourself how much you wanna rely on you versus how much you wanna rely on the property. You gotta balance those two things out, right? So North Carolina has some 6 caps, maybe some 7 caps, not very frequently, right? In small multifamily in the smaller cities, you're not going to Charlotte or Raleigh and finding 7 caps, I'm sorry. I mean, if you find it at a discount from market value, sure, but not at market value. So California homes are expensive for sure. I don't buy in Texas. And look, same story. Yeah, it could be growing. I'm not doubting Texas's growth or Florida's growth or Georgia's growth or anything like that. I'm just saying, how much yield do I need a property to have for me to even bet on that growth? Do I want to bet on growth for the sake of growth on its own? And also, do I want that on my books financially when I go to the bank and I show them a Schedule E of a property that's not cash flowing when I ask them for the next loan on the next property? The banks want to see that your properties generate income. They're not going to take the appreciation story very well, right? Even if you're strong financially. So if you got all these growth properties, let's say you bought a bunch of stuff in Texas last year, Austin last year, let's use the extreme example. It's all negative cash flow, even if you bought it last year, for sure. And if you bought it anywhere near market value. And it's probably gained 20, 30% in value in the last year. And you could tell the bank, hey, give me a loan on this next project for all this money. My portfolio is doing great. They're gonna look at you and go, we don't wanna give you more debt. Your shit's all fucking in the red. And you're gonna go, what are you talking about? It's gained like 30% in value. And they're gonna go, great. It's still negative cash flow. That means you have to support that debt out of your own pocket and those losses out of your own pocket. So we're gonna take that off your income and then use what remains to qualify you for the next loan. And that next loan is going to be either a no or really small because you don't have that much income to show for, because your properties are actually sucking up your income. So you see how that gets kind of tricky? You might have a better shot with local banks. You might have a better shot with like hard money lenders, but you got to understand the local banks are finicky as all shit, especially if you're an out-of-state investor, and the hard money lenders are expensive. So is it a worse investment? Is it really such a good investment that you want to pay a premium to get debt on it? I don't know. That's why I like properties that have debt coverage. They self-sustain and have a buffer on top of that. That's the point. So I kind of ranted that, didn't I? But I need you guys to really understand the details of it. So I wanted to over illustrate so that people understand why appreciation plays can be problematic. What state would you look for investments for in the East Coast? You know, I don't look out there because I have a very big banking relationship with US Bank and they all have a footprint there. I've heard some people say some of these northeastern states, I want to say Connecticut might still have some deals, but it might be very much like a where thing. And these markets might not be markets I would actually put my stamp on either, as far as like quality and trajectory and landlord-tenant law and that kind of stuff, right? So I'm not 100% sure about the Northeast. Now the Southeast, like I said, I don't hate North Carolina. You just got to pick and choose a couple little markets within it, right? As far as Midwest, I could tell you a little bit more. I don't hate Wisconsin. I like Wisconsin quite a bit, actually, in certain markets. I really like Indiana. I really like Kentucky. I really like Tennessee. And I want to like Georgia and Arkansas and the Carolinas and Florida, but no, the numbers got to work. I really want to like them, but they're pricey. Do title companies have fix and flip leads? I mean, maybe, but like it's going to be such a random off chance thing that they like even throw you one, or they even have one to throw. Like, go find a better way to get those leads. Seriously, like there's going to be better ways to get those leads. Don't focus on getting them from title companies. Or people always go like, yeah, you know, just get the leads from like the lawyers and the bankers and all that shit. It's like, yeah, you gotta have relationships with these guys to get it. And it takes time to get these relationships. So do you really want to wait to build? You're not going to get a relationship if you're not doing deals. So those are really like side effects of already having gotten a bunch of your own deals successfully. So focus on getting a bunch of your own deals successfully. Maybe brokers, maybe wholesalers, but not like title companies. It's a waste of time. You might get one, but it's not worth the time you put in. Can you please give your input on people who want to start wholesaling? Well, it's a sales business, right? So you got to be good. That's the thing about like sales is so execution rich that a lot of people go, I'm going to start wholesaling because they're scrappy and they're hustlers and they want to make some money and there's not much liability on the front end, right? But they suck. You can't suck. You have to be good. You have to be able to like really understand your product too, right? That's the thing about any sale is that you're not just a marketer and a closer, you're a pipeline manager and you're a master of your product. And you know, as a wholesaler, your seller very well and what their perceived value of their property is and how to convert that and convert on that. And I'm not going to go into what that means, but just kind of get the gist, right? And you have to know your buyer really well, and know exactly what your buyer would pay for a property before you make an offer on it. Exactly what your buyer would pay for a property without much uncertainty, or else you're gonna have a bunch of bomb deals. You're gonna be a shitty wholesaler. You're gonna get a reputation and no one's gonna work with you. That's all. Are all my properties under one LLC? No chance. No chance. Branches and branches and branches. Don't worry about recording this. I'm gonna save this video. It's gonna be on IGTV. They all are. And then I've actually been sticking to my word finally on uploading them to YouTube. So go and subscribe to my YouTube. If you're on this live and you're not subscribed to my YouTube, or if you're watching this in any form and you're not on my YouTube already, just do it because all these videos are saved there. You can cast it to your TV, you can run it in the background, whatever it is. And someone told me recently to record them or convert them into podcasts too. So I'll probably go ahead and start doing that at some point if I can just find an easy app. If someone can give me a recommendation for like the easiest app to take a YouTube video and convert it into like an audio, like a high quality audio file that I could upload to a podcast, let me know. I'll give you guys podcasts if you want to study this kind of stuff in the background. Walking your dog, driving your car. I got a message from someone saying, where do you get your shirts? Which doesn't bother me much, right? Where do you get your shirts? They fit you great. And by the way, I listen to you while I'm falling asleep. And I'm like, this took a turn. This took a turn. But if you guys want to listen to me while you fall asleep, because that's how you learn, fine. Just don't tell me about it. I don't want to fucking hear it. Why do you mail every 3 weeks versus 1 month? Because I am the premier marketer in the markets that we're in. Our company is supposed to be the company with the best reputation, the most serious one. And we're not little wholesalers, right? With a couple bucks. We're serious. We're a corporation. So when they get our letter, often, and it's pretty, and the message is thoughtful and serious, and they understand our process by means of what we write in the message, then, and they get it all the time. Sorry, Siri just like turned on. That was annoying. Then they call us back more. They call us back often, and oftentimes they call us even though they don't want to sell. They go, hey, you know what? I'm just giving you a call because you told me to in that letter, and it was a nice letter, and I just wanted to say I'm not. And now we got them in our database. That lead is captured, right? So extremely, extremely important to be a standout marketer over all the other noise out there. And that's the thing. People go, well, aren't they getting so many other letters? Well, yeah, but they're getting a bunch of texts and cold calls, and they're getting a bunch of everything. They're getting bombarded with advertising all the time. It's the same question as like, how are you so successful in your business? Isn't your business competitive? And it's like, yeah, with a bunch of fucking schmucks, right? So you just gotta be better than them. That's the key. That's with everything, with marketing, and you do want to kind of put yourself in a place where you're not competing with a million people, right? But also you shouldn't feel like you're competing. You should just be the stand aside. Will I do this forever? I don't fucking know, dude. That's a question I've been asking myself lately a lot. I've been pretty tired lately. I've had a lot of stuff going on outside of work and in work. That's been keeping me really, really busy. And I've definitely asked myself, am I going to do this forever? I mean, if it means 10 mil, put that fucking ball and chain on. Let's go. Fuck it. In a year, 10 mil in a year, not 10 mil net worth. That's not worth doing it forever for. We better get that shit done quick, right? Forever's a long time, but whatever. What am I going to do? I told you guys on the last live or 2 lives ago, I got a buddy that I used to work with, and his dad was a really smart guy, right? He really admired his dad, and he always had his dad's phrases. He'd go, and my favorite phrase of his dad's was, what the fuck else would you be doing anyways? And it's the truth. What the fuck else would you be doing anyways? Traveling the world? Sure, go for it, y'all. Enjoy. I don't need an Elliot bot. I'm already a fucking robot. Just lowers your cash flow because you guys are asking questions amongst yourselves. What else you got, guys? What else you got? Hit me with some questions. Nevada, Wyoming, Delaware LLCs or not? Yeah, a mixture, depending on the application within the company. Nevada's really good, right? I actually had a conversation with a lawyer yesterday, and he used the words, Nevada's tried and true. Nevada's tried and true. Delaware provides the most anonymity. They also have that chancery court thing, right? There are other regulations in Nevada that were interesting. Nevada and Wyoming that I wrote down. I forgot. He mentioned something about them yesterday. Don't do a series LLC. Old school shit. I'm not your lawyer, but don't do a series LLC. What is a 920 reduction? Is that something they do in like LA after they've had like too much like added? Do you niche your marketing list? Yes, we are a niche business. You should be a niche business that allows you to kind of master a space, right? And that eventually like accumulates to the point where you become the recognized business in your space. Niche clients, niche business, it's the key. And it's an easy way to divide out all your options and find where there's a need for you and where there's less competition. Right? If you get more specific on the different niches as you evaluate different business models and strategies, you will have a higher likelihood of finding an uncompetitive space. If that makes sense. If that wasn't like complete Greek to you. Because I just kind of get in like my weird like philosophical business modes, right? And sometimes I just talk nonsense. How do I feel about triple net? I love the idea of triple net real estate where it's like, I don't have to do shit. They just pay. It's a long-term lease. It increases over time. The problem is it's got to be a good deal. And that's really appealing. That whole passivity of it is really appealing. So you just got to find a way to be better in triple net, find better deals in triple net because the cash flow is not very high on them, at least in a high quality asset, right? I mean, like, I don't know if you want like a Dairy Queen in fucking Mississippi. in West Virginia or something like that, right? Yeah, you might get a 6 cap out of it, triple net, but is that a good investment? I don't know. So finding a better deal in triple net, being able to like work your way into some equity. We're active real estate investors, so I'm always thinking about things we could do to benefit from our level of activity, right? Our level of involvement. I can't just buy at market value because I am an involved real estate investor. I need to leverage my competitive advantages, right? And that kind of like makes me ask questions in triple net. How can I leverage my competitive advantage in this space? Audiobooks, I'd make a killing. Think so? Opinion, lease option to buy strategy. I fucking hate it. I hate it. Usually people who do it, they get the most desperate tenants that like just want to buy a place and they're just looking for an option fee. And it looks horrible on the books when you're submitting your current portfolio to your lender to qualify for the next loan out there. Think of that also. Have you ever considered Airbnb my properties? No, and it's not that I don't think Airbnb is a viable business model. I think what Airbnb does, what a lot of newbies who aren't smart about Airbnb, which is everyone rushing to the scene, do is they're attracted by the high cash flow, but they forget that it's an operations business. That's why you're generating this high cash flow. And the high cash flow often masks or confuses them when it comes to value. They have a misjudgment in the importance of the value of the property that they purchase and the equity position they're going to have over time and the stability of the property's value over time because they're, I guess, disillusioned by this cash flow. They go, you know what, I'm gonna buy 5 Airbnbs and retire. Look at all these guys on TikTok that do it. That's great. But are you gonna buy 5 Airbnbs at a premium to market value and the market's gonna soften all of a sudden for Airbnbs and then you're gonna lose more equity than you cash flowed in the last 2 years overnight? Possibly. That's a volatile asset, right? So think about the value of the asset, the piece of capital that you're purchasing for your business, and then acknowledge that it is an operations business in Airbnb. That's what I recommend. I'm not an Airbnb expert. The reason I don't get into the business is because it's not my business. I have a niche. That's not short-term rentals. That's all. Right? I'm not going to say don't do it. I'm just going to say do it smart. And doing it smart just isn't the same way as doing traditional long-term rentals smart. How often are you sending those nice-looking letters to off-market people? Every 3 weeks. Every 3 weeks. It's pricey. It's like 12 grand a month. And we have a small list because we're super niche. We just convert at a very, very high rate. But yeah, $12,000 a month is like not a little bit of money, but it also gets us like 8-9 deals a month. So that's worth it when the deals have thicker spreads. It's not worth it when the deals have these little tiny spreads. If you're a traditional wholesaler and you're getting $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 per deal, you probably can't afford to send out $12,000 worth of letters per month. You need to find a way to get thicker spreads or have a tighter list and get more volume out of it. How would you advise that someone gets their first deal in 2022? It depends on the type of deal. I don't want to give you reckless advice and say, just do this because this is what I do, right? I mean, if it were with the strategy that I use, I tell someone to just go reach out to like brokers and wholesalers, try to find something like pre-market or off-market, maybe like 3-4 units, somewhere in, like if I want to say play it safe, I don't know, like C+, B- asset, Midwest or South. That's it. Cap rate versus the 1% rule. Is that even a question? Like if you just got to be able to calculate cap rate quickly, right? You never want to use a percent rule anywhere. Like if anything, the only rule you should use, if you just want a quick glance, so some might argue, well, just use the 1% rule to know if it's like a good enough deal because like in that market, like if a property's at 1%, it's a pretty good deal. That's fucking bullshit. If you know a market so well and you know a rule applies to it, just eyeball the value. I know that if you bring me a fourplex in a B- neighborhood in Kentucky, or in, like Louisville, Kentucky, for example, to me, it's worth 300 grand, 325 grand. Right off the top of my head, I know that's what it's worth. And then I just subtract like repairs and under renting from that. That's it. So eyeball value per unit first if you're going to eyeball something. And then if you're actually going to get into like the numbers and you want to understand financials, just calculate the cap rate. If you've got a good rental property calculator, you should be able to plug those numbers in like 1 minute pretty accurately. And you can plug in like placeholders so you can have something in the utility slot before you get the actual numbers from the company, right? But like, don't use the 1% rule or the 8% rule or the fucking 50% rule. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's just clickbait. I like Louisville, Kentucky. I invest there. I don't say Louisville like everyone else does. And people from there always get mad at me for saying Louisville, but I'm not gonna walk into a Mexican restaurant and order with an accent. It's douchey. So I say Louisville. So I hope that's not why you thought I was making fun of it. I'm just speaking Californian. How do I factor in renovation? Do I factor it in before selling? This is the last question I'm gonna take. This is an interesting question. I always bake capital expenditure into purchase price, not into pro forma cost. Right? I don't take an old roof and add extra 5% to my maintenance reserve as CapEx in my pro forma every month over the extended period of time. These are what the bank and the IRS consider one-time expenses. I make them one-time expenses in my purchase price as well. So good question. That is how the government, for tax purposes, that's how your CPA is going to look at it. That's how your lender is going to look at it. They're going to call them one-time capital expenditures, bake them into the price. That's all, y'all. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna post that that giveaway pretty soon here, so watch the stories, and I'll see you next Friday.